Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, ANITA FINLEY.
Well, we're back with AAA insurance, AAA travel, and all the other things in between. They've been a favorite of mine. In fact, I have someone here. I'm going to tell him something. Scott Williams, he is the home and auto insurance over there at AAA in Delray Beach. You know, if you look at my AAA card, Scott, I think that it says 1974.
Wow, and we appreciate that.
And some people weren't even born. I told them that, and that's right, because when you get cars, you know that they say, oh, well, you can use this service. I said, you know what? I'm calling AAA. I always have used AAA.
Yes.
And insurance is, you see, it's when you're really in trouble, it's very important to go to a company that's been there for many, many, many years, right?
That's correct. And we offer all types of insurance products, homeowners insurance, car insurance, umbrella insurance, flood insurance, and nobody knows it.
I know that. And that's why we're starting to work with you to do this. And it's cute because I said to Scott, have you ever done this before? And he said, no. I'm going to put him now on live on Facebook. But it's funny because he said, I have never talked to the radio. He said, I can sing and dance. So I said, oh, well, that could be fun. I said, is there a insurance song on AAA? He said, not that I know of. So he and I may have to work on that. But let's just get serious and talk about why it's so important, especially at this time when we know we're going to have some very bad weather. Why should people buy insurance?
Well, of course, we are entering or have entered the hurricane season. And with that brings a lot of rain and a lot of wind. So if you don't have that type of insurance, now is the optimum time to get it. Now, today I'm here to talk about flood insurance. And that's really essential where we live here in South Florida.
Well, let me just tell you about flood insurance. I live in a condo, and I'm sure that they do that. But I live right near Two Georges, and there's a street there. When it rains a lot, you can't even drive your car through there. It's a flood, and this isn't even the hurricane. So what has your experience been with flood insurance?
Well, I've been in the insurance business for 48 years. I do profess to support flood insurance as a necessary evil, if you will. I think a lot of people think that their property is not in a flood zone. I hear that more often than not. Oh, I'm not in a flood zone. I don't need flood insurance.
I'm not near the beach.
Well, flood is the biggest disaster that happens in this country. And in the last 25 years, we've had $318 billion worth of flood payouts. So there is some reason that you need to be protected. Now, I will say that 20% of those claims are for people that said, I'm not in a flood zone. So it is just imperative that they carry flood insurance. Every home is in a flood zone in the state of Florida. Now, there's a preferred zone where floods don't happen very often, and then there's a hazardous zone where it's more prone to flooding. And those zones are published by FEMA, and that's how they develop the rates for your property.
I'm just going to say that, so if you're on the ocean or on the intercoastal, probably it's going to cost you more for flood insurance. Is that right?
It would probably cost you more, but not a whole lot more. You would be surprised that, flood insurance itself in the state of Florida runs between $350 and $450 a year. And that's a minuscule amount when you think about. FEMA says that for every 2 inches of flood water in your house, that's a $27,000 bill.
Really?
Okay. So.
Oh, my heavens. And so what's $400? My goodness.
Well, that's basically our reaction. But you still have people that resist and say, I've lived in a location for 40 years and I've never had a flood.
Well, and we have Vicki. We have a woman listening right now watching them. It's Vicki Rodas Tunnicliffe. And I know where she is. She's actually down in Lauderdale by the Sea.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of people listening, but it's important because everybody is very confused about flood insurance. That's the problem.
Right. A lot of people believe that flood insurance is provided in a basic homeowner contract, and that's not the case. Now, you have water damage that occurs within your unit from maybe an overflow of a pipe or a broken water line or something like that, and that is covered under a standard homeowner policy. However, if that water comes from the inside or from the outside of your house into your property and causes a flood, only a flood insurance policy will address that situation.
Oh, see, now I didn't know that myself. I thought also that your homeowners don't have the flood. So now flood is a separate policy that you have to really. So when you sell people the homeowners insurance,
right,
you make sure they know, and you probably ask them, do you want flood insurance? And you
Absolutely.
probably don't say, do you want? You say, you should have. I can hear you.
We actually say, would you like a quote for flood insurance?
Right.
Or do you have flood insurance currently? And do you understand that your homeowner policy does not cover flood?
So talk about some of your clients that you have sold insurance to and who have taken flood insurance. And have you seen people really do well and get money?
In our particular area in Delray, several years ago, the Kings Point development flooded. And this was after about 3 days of rainstorm. It wasn't even a hurricane. And the weirs backed up from the management district, and they had 4 and 5 feet of water over there.
Wait. 4 and 5 feet?
Right.
You're kidding.
They had actually cars totaled out from flood waters coming in the side of the car. They had several people that drove into these canals because they couldn't see. The water was so high. So in that case, I specifically had conversation with at least 2 people and told them, what they need to do to report the claim and this and that and the other. So, yes, floods do happen to people, and floods don't always happen on the coast. Any rainstorm here that lasts for any period of time, take 2 weeks ago, if that would have continued another 3 or 4 or 5 days, we would have had major flooding in several different areas. And it's not just germane to the coast. Wellington has had some flood situations, and they're far inland. So we always recommend that people, for $450 a year, protect your property.
I agree with you. And so my guest today, is Scott Williams, and Scott has been with AAA for many years. He is they have 3 offices, and I'll tell you about them, but he particularly is in Delray Beach. And you can actually call him if you want more information. You can reach him at 561-865-1400, extension 238. Again, that's 561-865-1400, extension 238. They also have, as he just said, in Wellington, they do have an office, and that number, remember, this is Pencil Talk Radio. You need to get your pencils out and write this down somewhere that you don't lose it. Don't do it on a little yellow sticky, please. You'll lose it. But Wellington's number is 561-793-1281. Again, 561-793-1281. And they also have, of course, they have a lot of offices all around, but we're talking about the 3 offices that we're dealing with right now is Delray Beach, Wellington, and Coral Springs. And Coral Springs is, let me give you that number. It's 954-227-3239. That's 954-227-3239. And they all sell the same policy, don't they?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the AAA insurance.
Yes.
And particularly now we're talking about flood insurance.
Particularly,
yeah. And we have a wonderful magazine that just came out. Boomer Times is out now, and you can pick them up at AAA, which is really important. Go to AAA, pick up your Boomer Times, but you can also go to the insurance department there and tell them that you heard Scott on the radio rather, and that even if you're not in Delray, and they'll help you. So tell us about some more things that we should know. Is this flood insurance? Now, this sounds crazy. Would a car be protected in flood insurance?
Cars are protected under regular automobile policies, under the coverage of comprehensive. Okay? There are no coverage on the homeowner policy for your car or on the flood policy for your car, okay? We're just talking about real property here, houses, condominiums, offices, things like that. Now, I would like to just say one thing about flood insurance. It's not like you can go buy it off the rack and it's enforced today.
Tell us what that means.
There's a 30-day waiting period for all flood policies. So if you're going to buy flood insurance, you need to do it now, because if you bought it today, it wouldn't be effective until 30 days from today. And that prevents people from trying to buy the insurance when the hurricane is sitting off the coast. So there is a built-in insulation there for FEMA not to issue those policies. That's
a funny story. I'll divert a little bit, but I was working with a company that sold long-term health care insurance. And you probably sell this also, do you?
Yeah, in the old days I did.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, and this one man tried to get this woman to do it. Oh, she said, no, I don't need it. And so he gave up. And one day he gets a phone call from her. She's in the hospital. And she says, I want to buy the insurance. It reminded me of what you said, right?
Exactly.
Wait till the flood comes and then buy the insurance?
Exactly. And the other thing is, it's an annual policy. You pay the premium up front. And there are very strict regulations that you can't cancel that policy in that year's period of time. So that precludes people from trying to buy temporary insurance for flood. You have to keep it for the whole year, unless, obviously, you sell the property and you no longer have a need for it. So.
Right, so you pay the full amount, and that's what you get. Well, you now have another person on Facebook, Lloyd Hasner. He's watching and listening. And, of course, this will eventually be on YouTube, and we're going to send it to you. You can put it on AAA's website. But for the moment, this is Facebook. Are you on Facebook at all? Do you do anything on Facebook?
I do. I look at Facebook. Right. I make some comments every now and then. I get some of my news from there.
Yeah, that's right. Well, they're going to get this on Facebook. But I like what it says. AAA says, turn hopeless into hopeful. And when I saw what happened in Houston with the floods.
Yeah, I was reading about a quote from a gentleman that had lived in his house for 32 years. He was paying $200 a year for his flood insurance. And the premium went to $400. And he decided, well, I've lived in this house for 30 years. I've never had a flood. I'm going to cancel. And he was one of the people picked off a rooftop in Houston, Texas.
Oh, no.
His home was totally gone. And, a lot of people assume that the federal government is going to pick up the tab. Well, if you don't have flood insurance in a natural disaster that is defined by the President of the United States, you only qualify or can qualify for low-term financing through the government, but up to a level of $33,300, and that's it. So if you're out there thinking that you're going to get relieved by the federal government, that's not going to happen.
So just go a little bit further with that. So let's say you're in a more expensive home and you have flood insurance.
Right.
Will you get the value of the home if it's destroyed?
Well, the flood insurance itself has maximums. Okay, you can buy $250,000 on the dwelling, which is the home itself, and $100,000 on contents. Now, that is the maximum that you can buy from the federal government. There are some companies out there that will write excess flood above and beyond what the federal government offers, but it's quite expensive, obviously.
So, but you know what I like so much is that AAA is such a strong company. There are other companies, I'm sure, that offer flood insurance, and I'm sure when the floods hit and they've had to pay up, they could go bankrupt. I mean,
Oh, absolutely, and many people do. I mean, they leave their homes. This fellow I was quoting virtually left his home with what he had on his back and never looked back.
And he was lucky to even get saved,
right? Exactly. I mean, there are people that die in floods. I mean, obviously.
Yeah. So, in other words, this $400, the difference of $200 to the $4, was very, very foolish. But
well, he did say in final words that I'm just glad that I can be here.
I understand.
You can always replace some things, but I'm alive, so I'm thankful.
Now, your AAA is a national company. I mean, you
Yes,
can
ma'am.
buy AAA flood insurance anywhere that you live.
Anywhere, in the United States,
that
sure.
AAA has offices, and I mean, because you are national.
Yes.
There are a lot of other flood insurance companies that aren't. I don't think that I mean, I don't know enough to ask you that.
Well, that's not probably something I would say. I don't know. I don't know. I just know about our company. We are countrywide.
Right.
And you can pick up the phone and call, and they do write flood insurance. So.
And that's the other thing I wanted to say, that it's nice to be with a company where when you make that phone call, there's someone there.
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. I mean, AAA is all about service to their customers.
Yeah, I know they are.
The memberships are very important. We're advocates for our members. We'll do everything we possibly can. Ultimately, the person that writes the check has to handle the claim, but we're there for you.
Yeah, you really are. That's why you've been with them. You said you've been actually in the insurance business a long time. But
7 years with AAA in this location.
In Delray Beach.
Yes.
Yeah, well, for people that don't know where they are, you can go there. You can actually call and get a quote over the phone. But why not just stop into their beautiful office, which is really a military, just off Atlantic in Delray. There are in other locations too, but since I'm talking here with Scott, I'm going to tell you that you can go pick up some magazines there. So it's Scott Williams. Well, let's go over a couple of more things. You said that the flood policies actually are affordable, and you said that it's not expensive.
I believe
when you
they're
think of
affordable. I mean, think about what you would pay $400 for if it wasn't insurance. Would it be something, really important? What you're buying is peace of mind. The fact that you can go to bed at night, and if anything happens, you're protected. See, at AAA, we do things a little bit differently. We are, like I said, advocates for our members. We try to protect them. We're not necessarily, commission is nice, and I won't say it's not because I work on commission. However, just the feeling of securing someone's well-being and their belongings is important to us. And it's important to our company because they want us to develop that promise.
In a relationship, because you do sell other products.
Yes, we do.
We're focusing in on flood this month.
Right.
Because it's really scary.
It's that time of year.
It is, and it's scary, and it would be nice to write that check and then know that you're protected. So that was another thing, finance. If someone, do they have to pay the full amount?
They have to pay the full amount up front, but they do allow credit cards and checks to get that done.
But you then said, so let's say someone calls you tomorrow, and they fill out an application. They still have to wait 30 days for it to be in effect.
That's correct. There are situations where if a person is getting a loan on a house and they have a definite closing date, that flood coverage can start on the closing date, okay? They waive that 30-day requirement when the mortgage requires that you have flood insurance to close.
Oh, is that true? Do mortgages require that?
Exactly.
Oh, let's talk about that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the mortgage companies will require flood coverage if the subject property is in a hazardous flood zone, okay? Now, there are differentiations I mentioned. There's a preferred flood zone and there are hazardous flood zones. If you're in the hazardous flood zone, in order to get that loan, you must have flood insurance, okay? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and the mortgage company will send us the requirements to close the loan, and one of them will say flood is required, and then that's another policy altogether.
Well, I think that says a lot, that even if you're not in that hazardous, the fact that a mortgage company thinks that much to demand that, then you might as well do the other, because as you said, floods are happening. When you told me that it happened in Kings Point, I'm flabbergasted.
Yeah.
They definitely are not on the coast.
Well, a lot of people also think that, unless a flood is caused by a natural disaster or the president has to say it's a natural disaster, that's not true. I mean, if you have two adjacent properties that for whatever reason are collecting water and it inundates the property and it comes in the house, that's flood. Okay? Now, it can be from any source of water. Water tower falls down in town and, wipes out a neighborhood. Okay, that's flood. That didn't fall from the clouds, right? The dam breaks at Okeechobee, and they've been talking about that a lot, right?
That. Yes.
That inundates property. That's flood. So, flood is, it provides a lot of protection for you. Now, obviously, if your swimming pool overflows and goes into your patio, that's probably not going to be a flood because two properties aren't inundated by water, okay? But that's basically the qualifier.
Okay, so let's just say that it's not a horrendous amount of water. Let's just say some water comes into your house.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, I don't know, inches.
An inch is $27,000 in a 2,000 square foot house. So they have to take the wall board out.
Okay,
they have to take the baseboards out.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little amount adds up to a lot of money.
Right. So we're not just talking about coming in where you have to go in the rooftop. But
No.
We're talking about water that actually comes up the steps.
Yep.
And seeps into your house.
Yep.
Because now you're talking about mildew. You're talking about a lot of other things, your furniture.
Yep.
And, all right, so let's say you do have a flood. You call, the person would call, and they have insurance. They call you, your office. And
we
then
refer them to
somebody,
we give them a number to report the claim. They go directly to our service center. They make the claim, and then an assignment is made to pay.
No, but they have to then have somebody that comes out to inspect.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Unless, the company says something like, we'll have someone take a look at it, but I don't think that's the case.
Right.
I think there are our own adjusters that go out there.
Yeah, right. So it's almost like you have a car accident, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing. You have to make that phone call, and then you have to do and have
With everything, the insurance company wants to see the damage.
Of course.
So, about the worst thing you can do is clean it all up before someone gets to look, because then it's like, well, where's the proof?
Yeah, no, of course not. And so we're really trying to get people to see why, as you say, flood insurance is essential.
I believe that's a true statement. It's not just to sell another policy.
Right.
It's protection that goes hand in hand with the homeowner's policy.
Right.
But it is separate. Okay.
So if you have a home, protect it.
Protect it.
Right? That's what you say. It's like a car. For years you didn't have to have insurance on a car.
Right.
But you have to have it now.
Yes, you
right?
do.
Because it's essential.
Right.
And that's what I think you're saying about a home. If you had enough money to buy a home,
protect that investment. Protect that investment. Why would you not do that?
Well, let me ask you a question. If I'm renting in a condo,
okay,
I'm on the 7th floor.
Okay.
I don't have flood insurance. How does that work?
I wouldn't recommend that you buy flood insurance if you're on the 7th floor. It doesn't pay for loss of use. So let's say your condo they won't let you in because the underpinning is wibbly wobbly or whatever.
Right.
Okay. They're not going to pay to relocate you somewhere else because of that flood. Okay. So I don't believe you would be a candidate for flood insurance.
And also, wouldn't the property itself in the homeowners, they would buy flood insurance for I would think that any of these condominium associations, they're like 150 condos must buy flood insurance.
There are master flood policies that can be purchased by condominium associations. The term
just
is
on
RC.
The intercoastal, I would think it's definitely they should do that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of them do, and then they pass along the cost to the
exactly. But as long as they do that,
there are lots of master policies out there, but there are some condos that have no protection at all. Again, it's a cost factor, and obviously it costs more to insure a 3-story building than it would a 1 unit in that building. Okay.
Right. Well, we're certainly having a conversation about flood insurance. Let me give out some numbers now. I hope if you're listening that you make that call, because you'll remember, if you don't, what you should have done. So let's get that right now. So Scott Williams is our guest today, and he is here to help you. He'll give you a quote also if you call him. Anyway, he's in the Delray Beach Center, AAA, and his number is 561-865-1400. And if you live out further west and further north in Delray, Wellington's a good place. It's 561-793-1281. And then Carl Springs, lovely area. And that definitely has potential of flooding because of the way that it was built. I have to tell you that. I know a lot about, sometimes places are built and they're not built high and they're just fill-in land. I know about Carl Springs. And so that's 954-227-3239. Don't give up your home because you want to live in your house. Just buy flood insurance, right? And when you think of it, it's so traumatic anyway when you're in a hurricane or you're in a big rainstorm. And just to be relieved that you don't even have to think about it, right?
Right. Exactly. I had a number of years I was a claims adjuster, and I've seen people walk away from, devastation.
You were a claims adjuster.
Total fire in a house, or I worked a catastrophe where a town was blown away by a tornado.
Where was that?
That was in Texas when I started in the business. But to see families actually get paid, the look on their face is just it's just great to see that.
Yeah.
And then you see the other people on the news that don't have a lick of insurance.
Yeah.
And everybody's going, and that's sad. So insurance, I believe in. I wouldn't have been in it for as long as I have. And I hope everybody applies flood insurance.
Yeah, we're going to have them buy flood insurance. And they're going to go pick up their Boomer Times in Delray Beach and say hello to Scott. And we thank you so much for being on.
Thank you.
You didn't have to sing or dance. You
no,
just
I didn't, but I did enjoy it. Thank you so much for having me. Okay.